flying right over my head. That's LAPD. And this is called group stalking. Hold on. They're monitoring what's on my phone. This is called stalking in the path while I'm walking out from my apartment. LAPD flies right over. That's the same demon you saw at 1:45 p.m. looking at her phone, doing the same thing. That's P.O.C. That's the entity flying right over my head as I'm walking downstairs. And the light source, how do you know? Because the light source is at the same property. By the way, when I'm inside of this apartment over here, building 1803 this morning, and you saw the light source across from me while in the same position, while Center for Better Life drove by that apartment building, all the entity is doing is maintaining the light source over me and gaining what is keeping the light source over a particular side of my person in the beginning of the day. During this time of the day, it's right over my head. And that's how you're identifying what is a demon and a very hostile demon-possessed group stalker who knows that she is maintaining presence in the path with one whom is specifically identifying all her information, and she's going to federal prison with that corrupt law enforcement agency while she's being a demon looking at the hillside. All right, those are the cowards that are group stalking you, and they're doing so under the light source. And this is what they're also engaged in. She's engaged in federal stalking, monitoring what's going on my phone. And you have LAPD, that's the same entity. And then let me be clear, that's what Spectrum, that's the threat to your life that the internet provider is engaging in waging while you are subject to that criminal system and you are subject to what is internet disconnection or interruption. There's no actual failure, no malfunction. The entity is monitoring, as you just witnessed. By the way, let's look at the time. It's 2:58 p.m. Julia. Is that you, Julia? Oh, hi, how's it going? Everything okay? Okay, great. Have a good one. Yeah, that's a psychopath. That's a demon. Okay? And she's engaged in federal stalking with LAPD, who flew right over my head. And I want you to see this light source again. This is, again, the same position that it was in earlier when I stepped out of my office. And this is at building 1810. This is the light source that remains directly over me. This is nowhere near the city of Ontario, by the way, on this day in 2022. I'm in Ontario, and I just love how you're able to witness the ongoing terrorism by that demon-possessed entity. This is evidence against the entirety of the state of California. Understand that? What Julia is doing is called criminal presence, and that demon can wear a brace on her neck. You can give birth to a baby, as I've stated, in the specific environment, which is what the entity is doing, by the way, in hospitals where the criminal pattern of conduct is underway. But I just want to be clear, there is nothing that a demon is doing which is anything other than, for purposes of federal prosecution, criminal presence. And that's why LAPD is flying directly over my head. And at 3 o'clock on May 6th, we can look at and estimate the last video that I captured on this day where I came nowhere near Los Angeles. I remain in Ontario as a matter of documentation in the morning. 11, it looks like I'm capturing video. I'm capturing still images at the last time I took images. I'm capturing group stalking inside of the Upland Public Library. That's where I'm at, and that's where I remain. So at 11, let's see, this is what I'm capturing, still images of the light source that's over me on May 6, 2022. The entity is engaging in what is the engineered light, which is all over the grounds at 11 o'clock in the morning. I stay in the library all day long, which is why I capture more images. It looks like 4 o'clock. I'm still inside of 450 North Euclid Avenue. This is the Upland Public Library, which is not over the anywhere over while I'm standing in between building 1808, walking out of my apartment. The light source is hovering over my head. This is called group stalking, while the entity is maintaining a light source over me at an entirely different address. All right, this is the significance of that environment. And I'm capturing video, it looks like, as I remain inside of the Upland Public Library, showing what is ongoing group stalking inside of that library. Where am I at 6:03 p.m.? I walk out of the Upland Public Library. This is the street in front of Upland Public Library.
Documenting on my podcast
and that's
the people of the state engaged in what is assault with a deadly weapon, and that is a third party engaging in the group stalking conduct. You see the fake sun right above her car? This is the same location where I'm standing at 9:25 in the morning. The fake sun is here. It is again 6:04 p.m. The people of the state engaged in what is assault with a deadly weapon.
So that's the Upland Public Library where I remained all day long. Just so that you can see that. Hold on. This is where I remain on this same day in 2022, where you're looking at the light source that's remained. That's the Upland Public Library right there. So I just want you to see the building. Hold on. And this is where I remain on this day all day long. And upon walking out, the library closes at 6 p.m. So that's why I'm outside, subject to the system via third parties who are systematically crossing path. and via traffic. And this is crossing path by sitting on a cane of some sorts, whatever Julia Alvarez is sitting on. And this is a psychopath that is exhibiting hostility, group stalking with LAPD. This is exactly what the entity did with Tiffany Sherez. This is a hostile demon, group stalking with LAPD. This is what the demons do in concert. You're paying attention to the simultaneity of conduct. That's a demon engaging in what is surveillance, waiting for me to walk out of my apartment. That's also a sex offender who's monitoring while I'm inside of my apartment. And that is an absolute psychopath. Let me be clear. And it's not just Julia. This is the people of the state. I want you to look at the light source. This is the light source that's present as I am walking out of the Upland Public Library, which is where I remain today. That's why I'm capturing it at the end of the day. Upon my exit, it closes at 6. At 6:03 p.m., I'm standing right outside of the building. And the entity is engaging in what is, you can see the cross street right there. It's Euclid Avenue and D Street, D as in dog. That is the Upland that's the Upland Public School District. That's the address. Their group stalking as well. That's a venue where they're monitoring in concert and via children, by the way. That's relevant for the ways in which you're going to prosecute. So this is the light source that's remaining over me in Upland, California. This is where I'm
the people of the state engaged in what is assault with a deadly weapon.
All right, I'm documenting assault with a deadly weapon. The entity that's monitoring you, that's the Upland Public Library right there. So that's the venue where I remained all day long, and the entity is maintaining a light source as I've documented on an ongoing basis, which is what I reminded you about already. And I was there on, I believe it was May 4th, 2022. So I will remind you about what it looks like on the inside of the 9:44 a.m. Hold on, I might be there at 9:44 in the morning. Yeah, I'm at the Upland Public Library, which is where I remain. And then I walk outside of the Upland Public Library at 6:03, and the light source is still there.
Stalking by plane.
So the entity is engaging in what is group stalking in the sky space while the light source remains directly over my head.
It's creating ongoing audible activity, and minions are patrolling around, walking around, sitting around, walking around me. And this is the fake sun right here.
All right, so the light source today at 9:44 in the morning, where was I at? I was right here where LAPD was group stalking by helicopter. So we can look at that because that's an ongoing example of what the entity is doing on an ongoing basis. You just got another iteration of it while Julia Alvarez, this is an exceedingly hostile, violent sex offender and a terrorist, engaging in the criminal system in concert with the corrupt law enforcement agency LAPD, who together are maintaining presence, waiting for me to walk out of my apartment so that they can engage in what is the psychotic and criminal pattern of conduct of group stalking together as one. The criminal elements of monitoring are underway. This is a demon that's stalking in your path, seated in the position, waiting for me to walk out of my apartment. The entity is going to say, oh, well, we can't anticipate what side of the apartment she's going to walk out of. I don't know which way she's going to walk out of her apartment. She could have walked out of the back. This is true. She's still in relevant position. The entity waits until I get into alignment, literally to see that demon, because this is how they're communicating hostility. This is how the demon-possessed entity, which is entirely cowardice, keeps their back to you while they are stalking you. Okay. And the entity, regardless of what door I walked out of my apartment, because I've got 2 entry doors, walking out of the back, just like the entity did, waiting until I get close enough, flying over that area. That they would have did the exact same thing, walking out the back portion, waiting until I get to that area where the laundry mat area is, that location, and the entity flying directly over, doing so in a manner seeking to avoid the camera. But nonetheless, they're heavily documented engaging the P.O.C. And at 9:44 in the morning, which is where I was today in 2022, this is where I was in 2024 at the same time.
And he's going to federal prison. And he also knows what I said about him while he returns to engage in that documented criminal conduct under the light source. This is a demon that's engaging in the state's criminal system.
While the entity is engaged in ongoing group stalking, crossing path, amplifying helicopter activity, those are the elements of monitoring. All right, where demons are maintaining corporate presence in your path, acting in concert with that corrupt law enforcement agency. This is the same property. All right, where I'm standing outside of my leasing office and you're looking at it at the same position while I'm at the same address. Okay, 9:46 a.m. it was here. This is criminal cooperation of a violent sex offender and a group stalker that's monitoring with the corrupt government. That is LAPD and engineer light that's appearing on the inside of an office. This is impossible light activity as well. You're looking at impossible light activity that's appearing up here on the wall. All right, this is what you're looking at in the depths of hallways for what is, again, the identification of a demon and a hostile one, because you document them by name and social security number, and you specify the fact that they're also going to be shipped out of this country because they're not welcome. All right, for more than one reason. This is the identification of a demon that's stalking in the path. All right, that's what LAPD is doing at 9:44 in the morning, and you're looking at the light source that's at the same address. All right, but you have what is this morning. This is the light source that's over this. I'm still at the same office. This is beside my office. 9:46 in the morning.
Knows what I said about him while he was.
LAPD group stalking by helicopter. Here we go. And it is, again, I just want you to look at it, 3:06 in the afternoon. And the entity is group stalking by helicopter, acting in concert with, again, violent sex offenders, those engaging in what is federal stalking. They're engaging in what is group stalking, criminal surveillance. And they are subject to what is federal prison. That's why all of them are going to federal prison. All 59 units are filled with hostile demons who are also engaging in what is abuse, using their children to engage in this exceedingly violent sex offense and state terrorism in concert with a corrupt government. All right. And Julia Alvarez Lopez, again, demonstrating the threat to the public that are the demon-possessed population that are criminally keeping you under surveillance in concert with the state. Where, by the way, on this day in 2022, there's no sun that's going to be over the Upland Public Library at the same time, while LAPD is flying over me with the light source that's supposed to be the sun in Los Angeles, California. The entity is engaging in the same pattern of group stalking by plane and helicopter, while the light source is directly over my head at 450 North Euclid Avenue.
Brightview is creating ongoing
Upland,
activity,
California,
and minions are patrolling around, walking around, sitting around, walking
which is
around
what this is.
And this is the fake sun right
This
here.
is the light source that's directly over me at 9:44 in the morning. All right. And then you're looking at what is the light source that remains as I step outside of the same library at 6 p.m. And this is capturing the P.O.C. While the entity is, again, what's the entity doing here? Rising and setting the sun at the same address through the windows of my apartment. This is the same light source. This is not the sun. That is evidence of what would never be the sun anywhere over the property of Alvarado Gardens, while it's literally on the same street where it was while I was there in the morning. Okay, that's the impossible maintenance of the so-called sun. That's called the light source. Where you have the specific environment, the engineered light, stalking by the state, you have what are the demon-possessed that are group stalking. And this is a sex offender that's listening to every syllable that I'm uttering, who fails in her futile and self-defeatist conduct of group stalking somebody who's going to prosecute her with that evidence. Not only is it going to be the substance for how long she sits in federal prison for engaging in federal stalking, she's also the demonstration for what is the threat to American citizens in this country who are acting in concert with a corrupt government that acts as though they have probable cause and reasonable suspicion when they are kidnapping you, and they are engaging in what is keeping you under surveillance in concert with the people who surround you in an entirely unnatural environment. Because again, while there's no sun that's going to be over the Upland Public Library, which as a matter of documentation is where I remain, that's how I'm capturing images of what is present. The people that are group stalking inside of the library, that's what I'm capturing images of on this day in 2022. Never is this going to be sunlight that results while you're just opening and closing a door. Never. That's my shadow appearing upright at a distance, two of them. This is P.O.C. That's the identification of a demon-possessed group stalker. Waiting for me to walk outside of my apartment. She's stalking in the path. LAPD is not coincidentally. LAPD is engaging in what is the ongoing group stalking pattern of acting pursuant to what is posing the highest threat, aware of that they're being documented, and they're engaging in what is group stalking in a helicopter. Those are the demon-possessed that are threatening the lives of American citizens, kidnapping them, feigning legal authority to place any arrests, to detain them, to ask them one question. They don't have any. LAPD is wildly corrupt, as you're looking at again, engaging in group stalking in a helicopter, again, in an entirely unnatural environment. It's a scientific impossibility. The LAPD is letting you know, letting the world know that not only are they criminals, not only are they corrupt, but they are demon-possessed. That is the why as to what is inspiring this criminal system. And that why, the answer to that question, is also demonstrated in the environment. This unnatural light, this impossible light activity, as I've shown it to you, that's the mark of demon possession. Those that are of that condition, that are engaging in group stalking, they're demons. And this is the reality of how the demon-possessed act. And it's nothing persuasive. The demon-possessed stand out, like I said, like a sore thumb in the specific environment, because there is no sun remaining over the roof of the Upland Public Library, which I've documented on more than one occasion. And just to remind you about what you've already seen, the entity is maintaining the light source over me. Again, I'm capturing this environment on more than one occasion. I went to the Upland Public Library on more than one occasion, and you're looking at the light source that's remaining. And I captured this. If it wasn't May 4th and it was May 3rd, I'm outside of the library at 8:22 in the morning. I go in at 10:14 in the morning, and the entity is keeping that light source. So we can look at that together just so that you can remember under no circum. Oh, hold on, because that's a good example. Remember yesterday when that demon that's sitting outside right now with intentionally having something around her neck, a brace around her neck, as though that makes her any less of a demon. It doesn't. All right, that was at 1:45 p.m. At 1:45 p.m., the light source is over the Upland Public Library.
All right, yeah, I want to show you what is
Just so that you remember, this was just yesterday. Yesterday was May 5th, 2024. May 3rd, 2022, at the same exact time, which is, again, directly relevant. All I'm doing is showing you day to day to day to day to day. It's not the natural environment. May 3rd and what's happening on May 5th is the same exact or legally relevant and probative evidence of what is the unnatural environment, the specific environment where an entity is stalking in helicopters in concert with demons like that. Okay? She was studying her phone like she was looking for something while she knew I was talking about the fact that she got a demon on her and she's an obsessed stalker and a sex offender. Her and her adult children are out of this country after they serve time in federal prison. While the entity was flying over my apartment at 1:45 p.m., this is documented maintenance of the light source at 1:45 p.m. over 450 North Euclid Avenue, where I'm present, by the way, in the morning.
Son, indeed. That is directly.
So I just want to remind you, the light source is over my office today. It's not outside over my bedroom window. Pay attention while it's outside of building 1810. I'm not even facing the direction of my apartment. That's the pattern. Okay, the entity is maintaining the light source over the Upland Public Library. I want you to see it because I've already documented this. And so I'll just show it to you again so that you can remember. The entity is maintaining the light source at 1014. Hold on. And I know that I've already shown this, but again, just to show that the evidence speaks for itself. There's nothing to make up. I couldn't make it up, so this is May 5th. I could not make it up. 8:50 in the morning. This is the Upland Public Library. 450 North Euclid Avenue.
It is currently 8:50 a.m., so I want to show you what is the light source as
Not only is that the evidence of what is well, let me be clear. This is indeed the Upland Public Library, in case you're questioning.
It is currently 8.
This is the Upland Public Library where I'm remaining.
Being over the roof, by the way, that's just going right here over the building, which is a migration to be what is literally.
All right, I'm at the same address inside, so you can see it through the roof of the Upland Public Library.
It is 10:15.
And this is the location where I'm at on this day in 2022, where you're looking at LAPD flying over my head 3 o'clock in the afternoon while demons are waiting for me to walk out so they can engage in the psychotic group conduct of flying over me in a helicopter, because this is what these demons get a kick out of, especially while they have already been defeated, meaning their criminal conduct and their demon possession are both exposed. And you have what is a threat to the public. While you expose that, they continuously engage in threatening your life. Let me be clear. They continuously engage in kidnapping those. They continuously engage in what is masquerading as though they have lawful authority to go around asking anybody question, exercising authority under reasonable suspicion or probable cause. They don't while they're monitoring you. They continue to engage in what is stalking. They continuously engage in what is harassment in the role as masquerading as legitimate law enforcement officers, the sheriff's department and the police departments. That's what they continue to do. That's a threat to your safety. That's a threat to your well-being. That's a threat to your life. They wield weapons. And then you have what are entertaining prosecutions. While the entity, the courts that are entertaining these prosecutions, they're documented as engaging in what is the pattern of conduct. Okay, so I want to be clear. I'll just say this. The entity is engaging in what is a lot of times disappointment with the court system that seems to not prosecute in the way that is satisfaction, in the way that's even in conformity to the way that the actual criminal law works. When it's the prosecution of an officer, of a law enforcement officer, you see a lot of dissatisfaction where they seem to, I don't want to say never, on many occasions, I don't want to say even getting away, but escaping what is conviction. I'll put it that way. Many occasions escaping conviction for what is seen as a matter of evidence and what everyone else can observe, even though you're not prosecuted in the court of public opinion, it's in a courtroom. But I want to be clear, these courtrooms are engaged in the pattern of conduct. It is not a mystery when I'm showing you what is public corruption. And this is how that system works. This is the light source that's over me at 10:14 in the morning. This is where I remain on this day in 2022. On May 6th, today, I'm in the same address that you're looking at where I'm documenting on yesterday, 2022, May 5th, 2022. This is where the light source is remaining over me.
Upland Public Library.
All right. And so while I am remaining at the same address today, May 6th, 2022, my documentation of showing where it remains while I am inside of that same venue. I step out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to show you the light source that's remaining over me. This is the same courtyard. This is the same library. It's remaining over the same building at 2:12 in the afternoon. I'm showing you the light source over me at 8 o'clock in the morning. All the entity is doing, again, So I'm going to show you what the entity is doing. The entity is maintaining the light source all day long, remaining on a specific side of my person. And that's what I'm showing you outside. While I'm outside of the same leasing office, I was inside of apartment 1803. The light source inside of that apartment above my head and on the carpet, and Center for Better Life being demons driving by, engineer light all over that apartment building. That's the P.O.C. In that video, I'm facing the light source. I'm facing this building that I'm standing inside of right now. All the entity is doing is keeping the light source on one side. So let's look at it again. This pin is me. This pin is me. The entity is rising as though this is the sunrise. This is where the sun is rising. This is where the light source is in the beginning of the day for the duration of the day. And then the latter part of the day, this is where the sun is setting. That's what the entity is doing. And that's why you have during the 8 o'clock hour, the light source is on this side of my person. I am inside of apartment number 1803. I am inside of this apartment building here, 1803, and I'm looking at the light source that's above the apartment building right here. And that's why you have, while I'm facing building 1803, this is what the entity always does when I'm making some serious points that you're going to understand, and I give you a visual. When I am inside of building 1803 at the 8 o'clock hour, the entity is keeping the light source on this side of my person because this is where I'm at. So the entity is keeping it rising over directly over your head, and then it's setting. So this is where I'm here. The entity is on this side with the light source over the same property. In the afternoon, where LAPD is flying directly over my head, I'm standing right here. I'm facing this apartment building where I was inside of it this morning, and the light source is right over my head. This is why when I'm inside of my apartment at the same apartment complex, the light source is on this side of my person. That's that pattern of conduct, rising all day long and then setting. That's the P.O.C. and that's not the natural environment, nor is it going to be the natural environment when I'm reminding you about what the entity is doing with the light source in an entirely different region. This is the pattern of conduct at the Upland Public Library. The light source is staying there all day long. That's not the sun. It's there at 2:12 in the afternoon. That's what I'm documenting. It's there, as I showed you on video, at 5:35 in the evening. The entity is maintaining the light source for the duration of the day inside of that Upland Public Library. Here it is at 5:35. This is the same library.
This is the light source, and I'm standing at the same exact location. Well, not exactly. I'm in front of the exit. So this morning, as I'm standing in front of the entrance, the light source is right here. As I step outside, it is right here at 2:22. It is 5:35 p.m., and it's remaining in what is perfect alignment with me as I step outside of the Upland Public Library.
And what I'm describing is as I walk back into the library, that light source keeps in alignment with my person to remain over the roof of the Upland Public Library. So as I walk from underneath the roof of the Upland Public Library, that light source moves to remain in alignment with me as I move. None of that is happening over Alvarado Gardens. That is where the state is stalking in helicopter. That's the P.O.C. That's the demon that is Julia Alvarez Lopez, who's threatening my life, while she knows that she's being documented as well. She's going to federal prison. That same character is shared by the people of the state living at the crime scene, by the way. This is on this day, in May 6, 2022. The entity is maintaining the light source as I'm showing you on video at 6:03. When I'm walking out, this is the same library, the same address, and this is where the light source is on the same street. This is the pattern of conduct.
Documenting on my podcast is the people of the state engaged in what is assault with a deadly weapon, and that is a third party with the right-of-way. The third party is engaging in what is proceeding toward me. I'm documenting this on my podcast. Refuses to stop while I have the right-of-way. In doing so, because they are engaging in what is necessary for monitoring. They're crossing path. 8 UYB 932, 8 LYD 199, and this is the entity that is engaging in what is group stalking while that assault with a deadly weapon is underway. And I want to be clear, this is capturing that impossible demonic, that demonic environment. This is indeed capturing an impossibility. The sun is not remaining over the state. This is where the Upland police were parked.
I'm documenting the pattern of conduct as I was capturing it earlier in the day. I'm standing on D Street at Euclid Avenue, which is where the Upland Public Library is located. I'm literally standing on the sidewalk outside of that building, and I just want you to see that building. This is what I was speaking of, and because I'm at the same address. And this is literally it between the public school district, the Upland Public School District is right there, and right next to it is the Upland Public Library. So if I could just see, let me see if I can get the building on video so you can look at it. I just like to give people a visual because I back up everything that I say. I don't have to make up any tales. I don't have to make up the fact that the police are stalking. This is documented for a term of years. And let me be clear, the reason why they're stalking, there's the Upland Public Library. That's the venue where the light source is over me at 8 in the morning. As I'm capturing on video, I step outside at 2:12 in the afternoon. It's still over me at that same address. I step out at 5:35 p.m. just so that you can see it. It is definitely visible through the roof of that library has windows in the roof and you can see it. But I step outside to get even more vivid video documentation, and it's still there as I walk out at 6 p.m. That's the same street. There's no provision for the natural environment to include any sun over the Alvarado Gardens apartments, let alone what the entity is doing while it's both rising and then setting in alignment to me. This is literally the rise and the set while I'm inside of my apartment. Okay, that's the P.O.C. And everywhere that I walk on the apartment, it's around the apartment complex. The entity is not only stalking by helicopter, the entity is stalking by the people of the state. They're engaged in ongoing systematic group stalking on this property 24 hours a day. That's why they're all going to federal prison, showing that viciousness that Julia Alvarez Lopez is documented engaging in. And they're also engaging in what is stalking in the path. That's why you see light on the interior of the hallways, because the demon possessed that are living all on the property, they're systematically monitoring as you're walking up and down the stairs, you're walking on the sidewalk, they're driving in and out on the parking lot. They're engaged in systematic monitoring while that entity flies over my head, and that light source is at the same position it was at in the video that I captured during the 8 o'clock hour. Pay attention. It's at the same position. It's just that when it's at this position in the morning, I'm inside of the building and I'm facing that light source that engages in this conduct, rising and setting around me. This is what the light source is doing all day long. So in the afternoon, when I'm standing at the same building where the light source was in the morning, it's over my head because we're at the middle of the day. All right, that's P.O.C. It is currently 3:22 p.m.